All right, you guys, and welcome back. Welcome back. This is Wicked Raider 22, doing a little update with you guys, sharing a couple of thoughts as well. Have actually made some pretty decent progress, but this is the latest talk. So, if you have been going along on the journey, we are only a couple of days in on this particular account. There's been a lot of talk about the daily login rewards and the types of progression that someone is able to get. And so this has become pretty interesting. Now, of course, for us, we are still on this particular account working to get to our first 30-day champion of High Catan. And I can tell you, on my other accounts, I have already received this champion. I've actually five-starred her. I want to say I've made it to, yeah, she's five-star ascended and level 50. I don't know, y'all. This is where the big talk comes in. When you're finally able to acquire a champion, do you find that you are getting that champion at the right time for your particular gameplay? And I've been thinking about this one for quite a while. And I'll tell you a few reasons of my own. Number one, there are a couple of champions that I would love to get, and we will visit the index to kind of throw the hint. And when I'm talking about champions in particular, a lot of my favorites still come from the high elf, faction or kind of banner area. I love several of these champions. I've heard really good things about the ones that I haven't had a chance to work with so far. I can create a battle plan in my mind. I will tell you now, there are certain champions that you will acquire pretty likely through this game. And there are some that you get through campaign that people talk quite a bit about. Eris is going to be one of those that she can have a pretty helpful set. She reminds me quite a bit of Sniper. I like her when you are in the business of elevating her from that. I believe she comes as like a 2 or a 3-star when you first get her. As you move her up to that 5-star level, I've ascended her. The skill set is what it comes down to. Avenger is another one that you're going to run into and that you will pull as you're moving through different missions, campaigns, just along the way. You're going to run into her as well. And you're going to find that a lot of these champions, number one, they have 3+ skills. When I get a champion that has 1 skill, they are just automatic food. I have yet to find anyone that is so magical with that 1 skill. It's impressive enough to actually think about going in and leveling that champion up. 2 skills, even 3 skills are real slim for me, if unless you are that exception. And there are going to be a couple of exceptions in the rule. These uncommons, Elfguard, Jaeger, and Aristocrat, you guys will pull these pretty soon within your journey. Now, here's what I noticed. And I think I've said this on a video before. Even though this account was started about 3 weeks into my initial raid, Shadow Legends journey, I have noticed honestly, and I'm kind of gauging out playtime as well. My playtime, it's not split 50-50 between this account and my personal account, but I feel honestly that I pull all different champions. That's a definite. But I pull higher quality champions sometimes on this account than my other account. And I also feel like sometimes you get to a point where you start pulling so many champions, you definitely don't know what to do. Now, here are a couple of examples. We were working really hard to go in with our Deliana, with Elhain. We knew that we wanted to build the team initially around these 2 champions. They are really helpful, really good in the beginning game. I've heard several creators say definitely, depending on how you build Deliana in particular, she can take you to early mid game. Some people use her late mid game. It depends on where you are and what you're trying to achieve. I will tell you now, there are certain champion types that you're going to love. High elves may be your thing. Demon spawn is another one. Undead hordes. Everybody kind of has something that attracts them. But what changes over time is what position does this champion slide into on my team? And so for me, I'm coming to a point where certain champions are going to outweigh others. And it's hard to let those champions go because you aren't sure. Here's one in particular. Now, I have done a couple of shard pools and I'm trying to wait for the next event to come around. So my biggest goal is to allow our blue, our legendary, epic, and our rare shards kind of build up. We know what to expect from our green shards. We know we're going to have to open those as we go, but the other ones will definitely be a save kind of moment. Now, for example, Shield Guard. Shield Guard is one of those that we've gone over before as an uncommon. He is often regarded as one of the best uncommons in the game. There are a lot of barbarians that I like how their skills are kind of built, but the issue really comes in when it's time for them to become active, like an active part of the team outside of more than one area. If I think about the roundabouts layout of it, would I pick him over having other particular champions in place? The answer is going to be no. And if you're wondering what I'm doing right now, I ran through the Minotaur dungeon and ended up getting a few scrolls. And these scrolls will allow us to access various points, skills, advantages, upgrades to what you have going on. So, for example, you have to pick whether you would like to go into offense, defense, or here we go, or support. So, and as you're going down and you're building this pathway, you can only pick two. So you're giving 6 choices. We started, this is under Elhain, of course. You can do attack for plus 75. You have the option to also do critical rate of 5%. Once you pick one, it will automatically lock the other path. Now, notice you can go back. I have had champions that I began building out, and probably about a couple of days in, maybe 3 or 4, levels, overall XP levels, the way that they had been built was no longer helpful. It wasn't really conducive to what I wanted to do. So changes had to be made. When I'm thinking about Elhain, I'm also thinking in my mind, how is she doing so far in battle? I'm thinking of places like Arena. I'm thinking of places like Campaign. As a campaign farmer, she's not going to be at the top of my list. I know that she can handle it at certain points in the game. I wish you could run, honestly, 2 or 3 campaigns at a time. That would be awesome. So, it'd be nice to be able to set up 2 separate teams and those teams could run through however many multi-battles you had available so that you could actually pump up and level up food more often. Now, when I come under defense, I get things like tough skin. So this is where we're going to add 75 to your defense, or you can choose to go the resistance route. I know that I have gear that can take care of resistance. So I know for her, her max HP is another one with steadfast. But if you're thinking about it on the support level, keeping Elhain alive is going to be really important to me. But once I unlock this path, where else would I go? She doesn't cast heals. It's not a part of her skill set. The shield buffs, really wouldn't apply. So for her, the support side is kind of, I'm probably going to focus one area or the other. And on this one, I'm going to go ahead and unlock the defensive pathway. The other thing you're going to notice is as you make it down, your number of scrolls needed will increase. So 30 are going to be needed for the second row, 80 for the fourth row. We're looking at 120. So they're going up in increments as you proceed down. And it ends up being quite a few scrolls. So by the time you get to like things like Iron Skin or, you're reaching this bottom tier, you are looking at some pretty intense abilities and you're thinking about where will that serve you the best. Remember that you're also going battle by battle to acquire these scrolls. Now, we've acquired a couple of champions since our last video. Sorceress is one that you will see in campaign. You guys may have noticed her before. She does fall under that undead horde listing. Now, the thing about it is I haven't equipped her yet. I haven't placed any artifacts on there because the other thing is At the moment, my silver shortage is like no return. So between this account and even my other account, it's not for a lack of energy, it's just for a lack of silver. I have been running champions through, but not necessarily running them through thinking about the silver, more so just thinking about leveling them up so I can use them for other reasons. Now, Sorceress, which some people keep her and they will go ahead and build her out. Maybe she's coming in at a 3-star, so maybe a 5-star, you know. But Crystal Bolt is going to attack one enemy. It has a 30% chance of placing a decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. She doesn't take a lot of books. Her damage is based on her attack. Magic Arrow is going to be her second attack. It's going to attack one enemy 2 times and has a 20% chance of placing an extra hit, which can come in handy, especially if you have an Eris on your team. If you're just starting out, those two with a good counterattack can be pretty impressive. And as you ascend her, that third attack will attack 3 times at random. Each hit has a 30% chance of placing a 30% decrease defense debuff for 2 turns. Still not too many books, but her skill level is not going to push you very far. You will earn her through campaign. So if you end up earning her, she's not an immediate need for food, then hey, go ahead, build her out and run her and see what you think. I'll tell you now, a lot of times when I pull 3-star champions, depending on where I am, that 3-star champion will normally be upgraded and used as food. It is a quick way. I cannot tell you how many spirit hosts I have had to date. These are champions that if they are pulled later on, they're mostly going to be needed for areas within the crypt, the faction wars, because you can only use certain types of champions. Now, she does have 4 skills because she's bringing that aura to the table. But Reap is going to attack one enemy. It heals by 50% of the damage inflicted, and all of her damage is based on her attack level. She does have Strengthen for that second attack, places a 25% increased attack buff on all allies for 2 turns. When you ascend it, that 25% will increase to 50%. The Dark Gift removes all debuffs on allies. Now, we've said this before. This is where my personal gameplay is going in. I'm starting to hit bosses that my teams are struggling against because I'm not able to apply enough damage before they either reshield themselves or we have buffs going left and right. So to be able to remove this and take a look, it doesn't take much, would likely be helpful. It's also one of the reasons why sometimes you will keep her in your champion list a little bit longer. The good thing is if you use her for food, you can also acquire her again. So it's not a big one. A lot of our common uncommons are coming from either shards or campaign. So it's something else to kind of find comfort in as well. Her aura will increase ally speed in all battles by 10%. Now, my question is anyone currently working with Spirit House? Is anyone, put her into their team rotation and have you brought her up to a 5-star? Are you thinking about ascending her at least to a 5-star? There are a lot of champions that I may be really hesitant. I've only now kind of moved into my first 6-star champion. And guys, the amount of resources is going to be huge. Now, here's another one that came from Shards. So Fortress Goon is another one that I pulled on yesterday as I was kind of going through and playing. I had not heard of this guy before. So I don't know how familiar you guys were, but he is in that Oregon tribe. There are a lot of champions that fall into this category that, they're okay, but they're probably not going to be in my top I'm running to find you. And here's why. First attack is going to be known as Cruel Trap. So you have it attacks one enemy, which this is a big one. I think all of the champions I have pulled under this particular banner, they are all like single attack champions. which can be helpful if I'm able to keep you alive until the end battle, if I'm going, into a crypt or a dungeon, because trying to go through Doom Tower has been interesting. And it's interesting when you get stuck, how you get stuck. It's a whole nother level for you. But I'm also looking at the fact that if this was all enemies, if it was two enemies at random, it would definitely make it worthwhile. But one enemy adding that decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. All right, it's first attack. So second one. All right, we're moving up. We have attacks all enemies. Has a 40% chance of placing a 50% heal reduction debuff for 2 turns. And this is devastating wounds. What I'm looking at, we're up to what, 6 books, 7 books? Here's kind of what I'm thinking on that one. It's nice that all enemies are being attacked. I can definitely go for that one. But depending on the power behind that attack, because this is an attack and a defense-based champion, that 50% chance will be impressive, of course, as the percentage increases. But we're looking at how long this takes. That cooldown is a big one for me. That cooldown is actually a little disturbing. We come over to Mobile Fort. Here heals all allies by 10% of their max HP. Places a 30% increase debuff on all allies for 2 turns. Guys, 10%, I can tell you now, in maybe 10, 12 levels, 10% will not be enough, hands down. After you ascend him, increases ally defense in dungeons by 23%. I think I'm more impressed with this than probably any of the other skills that we have gone through. As I'm learning more and more about my champions, and I'm thinking about what would make me keep Fortress Goon compared to Rotting Mage, for example. I know that working with Rotting Mage, though the 13% within a crypt for the faction crypt can be low, I've also seen what can be done with these particular skills. So as I'm walking through and trying to figure out who to improve, who to save, and who's probably going to end up on the chopping block, it's these champions that I'm not as sure about. Gear Grinder falls into the category as well. You'll notice that I will hold on to them for a little while because they are, multi-skilled. But even with Executioner, I haven't gotten to a point where the excitement is really there. And I think we talked about Executioner before, just with Shield Bash, cannot talk. Shield Bash, you're still looking at starting out attacking that one enemy. Tumult will attack all. It decreases the turn meter, which for him, this is going to be a lifesaver because I know where this particular team and account is kind of sitting at. So I want to see what difference can this make, especially if I go in with more than one champion that has a higher turn meter. So think about it like that. Now, Shieldtron is another one, places that 30% increased defense buff and counter attack. I am all about the word and like bring it in. It's nice. It can descend, which makes it even better. So it goes from 30% to 60%. And when you're ascending champions, you're thinking about either pulling duplicates or you're able to, go in and earn duplicates along the way. It's skills like this that become more and more important. And of course, we talked about the aura. And it's for those reasons I haven't figured out where Executioner will kind of fold. Because for me, a lot of champions from Knight's Revenant in particular, they kind of put me in the mind of a shield guard. He does not have a large amount of skills, but this guy is pumping out 4, 5, 6,000 in damage. And check it out, he's still in a 3-star. So I know he has the ability. I just want to kind of see what that's going to go into. Now, here's another champion that you're going to pull pretty often. And between Spirit Host is one that comes to mind. And the Admonitor, you kind of start looking at what's important. What's important for the team that you're building. And here's one. Guy looks pretty cool. He does attack one enemy, places a shield buff on champions for 1 turn. He also does cover, so places a 50% ally protection buff on a target for 2 turns. I have seen a couple of teams in Arena that use Admonitor for that extra coverage. They will put him next to a healer. They throw their nuker in between, and the entire battle, like literally, that nuker is being healed and shielded, healed and shielded. Now, otherwise, honestly, would I keep him? No, no. Speed is 95, so he's not going to be the fastest person. Base HP is 34, 35. It's a little bit higher than some, but I mean, I love how the guy looks. I will definitely say that. I don't mind that part at all. But I feel like for a team that's actually going to shrink in size, you have to start making, choices. And to be honest, if you're looking at who we have even high tier, I can tell you now, War Priest is one that often becomes a casualty, even though she's ascended. I ascended her even on this account because she's so helpful, especially getting through those tough areas of Arena, which this time I did not struggle with nearly as much. She also has a hard hit. And if you look, her Admonish is sometimes, and haven't even booked yet, it can get pretty impressive. If I'm able to get a champion at this point to that 7, 8,000, you know, points of damage, then where I am at the beginning, the very beginning part of the game, that's going to make a big deal. The other thing that saves a lot of you guys up front is don't forget the power of her divine light. I would definitely think, because she is an ascended champion, but I need to put books on her. I would appreciate going through this because this gives you an extra 20% for that heal and then brings it about a lot more often. She's one of those players you can put in auto and she does really well. Bless the Weapons is another one. It's not as important as you continue to move up because you start pulling other champions that are able to do something similar. And when I say something similar, I'm thinking about Miscreated Monster, for example. The way his passive moves, the more champions you can find that have a reliable passive, reliable is the key word. The more champions you find that their first attack, that first AoE is going to be a multi enemy attack, it's going to be a lot better. The champions you finally run into that have at least 3 skills and an aura, they become important as well. The longer you go in, the more you log in, the more you start to learn about how those auras and how those skills will play with one another. So we're going to be looking across the board. There are some other champions that you'll pull. The chemist is one. We've talked about this guy before. If you go in and you kind of think, I may want to keep them, you will have rings, medallions, banners for quite a few dwarves, orcan, lizardmen is another one that come in pretty often. Orcs are another group that you will run into. I cannot tell you how many rangers you guys have probably eaten during your game so far. So when you're going in, just know that some of these champions, you may want to go the extra mile with them, but you have time. Guys, there are over 300 champions in this game. Let me say it again, 300. And I have started looking at accounts that are over 200 champions collected. Like they are going the extra mile. And you got to think about some of these champions are going to be limited editions. A couple of them are probably no longer available. Like you have so many champions. But as you go in, you'll notice if you go back and start a free account now, if you run your 2 accounts, there's a huge difference just based on when you're entering the game. But something like this with pin and multi-shot, this girl is going to be food. I have upgraded her in level just so I could, use her and consume her at a certain point. And then, of course, we have some champions that we need to go in and kind of pick their masteries. Make sure before you go to masteries, you refresh yourself because damage, for example, here is based on defense. So I don't want to go down the support tree for him. I'm not going to be huge on, instead of going offense first, I'm going to, of course, go defense first. So as I go through each skill, I'm just kind of reminding myself because there are times when you will figure out, hey, this is one of those champions whose biggest job is blank. Now, with Myrmidon, I haven't decided how long he's going to remain team wise. I know we said we would ascend everybody. We were thinking about keeping for a little while, and we've done that for, so far. We've been pretty strategic with it. Griner is another one. Sometimes you don't know how to approach them, but I've decided it's really important to go through and to make sure that we're picking out what's required. Now, you can just choose to go down one single thread. And once you finish that thread, you may choose to branch off to another one. And I think with him, since we're looking at Myrmidon now as a level 25, 4-star ascended, I think I'm going to just go straight down this area under defense when it comes to scrolls and kind of see what the difference is. Now, first one, decreased damage received from AoE attacks by 5%. 5 would look better if it was 55, but hey. Increases the amount of healing and value of shield buffs this champion receives by 5%. Any increase to keep him alive as he's dealing damage will probably take top priority for us. Decreases the damage received by 10% if this champion has stun, sleep, true fear, freeze, petrification debuffs. It's kind of hard to pick. I'll be honest with you guys. I cannot see this champion being a long-term campaign champion. I could probably slide him into a few arena teams that I've seen offhand. Quite a few of my champions will probably fall into that arena group. And so I'm going to increase the amounts, I guess, that he receives. We'll just do that for now. And then we'll come over the offense. We're probably going to increase that little attack, or maybe because critical rate by 5% is one. We could increase the max HP or accuracy. And the thing about this one is you've got to decide what direction this is going to send you in. Either he's not a heal caster, and that's the thing. If you know that you're not dealing with a caster, picking that first one will not help you. You can go down to make sure he's more productive. Increases accuracy by 20 when this champion has no skills on cooldown, which is So I'm probably just going to stick over here, unlock that particular area, and then we'll stop because we know we need 30 to proceed any further. So we're working with quite a few champions. Let's go around and see, is there anything else I would love to get my hands? It's so tempting to go in and to open these shards. And normally what happens is their increase tenfold will normally creep up. And you guys can see mystery shards, we're up to 83. Ancient shards, we've collected 3 along the way. And those 3 actually came from the dungeon. So that was just us working through trying to get potions so that we could go in and actually ascend some of our champions that we already had. They have the deals, which are always calling your name. Why would they not? We're just here for the free items, of course. We're going to come on over, make sure we do our daily login. Remember, your login is based on when you created your account. So sometimes you'll find yourself working in a game, and then it'll ask you, hey, you want to come in and log in. We actually skipped a day yesterday. We weren't able to make it to the computer. And this particular account is not set to my cell phone. Now, keep in mind, you can play the mobile version. It's a really good way, honestly, to either run campaign at night or do a little bit of farming, or it's a good way to go in and take a closer look at what's going on with your champions in particular. I'm going to save this energy since we have 99 days, but we've got tons of energy on this particular account, but we're sitting pretty good right now. What I do miss having access to, being very honest and transparent, is I miss having multi-battles. I feel like, the chance for multi-battles just does not come the way that it used to. Remember that Doom Tower is going to open at level 40, so we're getting closer and closer. And I kind of use Doom Tower currently as a way to gauge where my team is and where my team is kind of headed. The other thing, Demon Lord is a really good way to do this one. I think this is the only area we could probably get in. So let's see. Easy mode. Let's put some of our hardest little hitters. Do we have those included? I think we can do a little bit better. I'm tempted. I don't know if I should do War Priest or let's run one with War Priest and then we'll come back and we'll switch her out and let's do a comparison there. So we're going to run on easy mode at this point. Remember, for clan boss, you want to make sure you are coming in and just running these two battles each time you're afforded that key. You will notice if you're keeping, a little track of yourself, your amount of total damage and your longevity in boss turn count should increase as you continue to go through this. You also kind of look at who is active on the team, who's just kind of standing. Like right now, poor Elhain was having a little moment, but she just took her 10,000 or just gave 10,000 in damage. So you want to see how your team is doing. And this is a good way. When I first started, I had no idea what the clan boss was all about. I was convinced that every time you went into this battle, you were definitely supposed to beat the clan boss. And I could not figure out why. I'm like, why do they keep a tally of all of us losing? And I know that we're not defeating this guy. And I would realize you would get his energy down to a certain point. I think I got him down here one time and it just stopped moving altogether. So the entire point of it was how much damage, can you dish out over time? Now, I've noticed twice both Elhain and War Priest have had a little issue with stun, and there's also not a reviver on this team. So that's another thing. We have champions that are able to heal, of course, but we haven't gotten to the point where we're able to actually do a full revitalization for champions. So I'll be on the lookout for that one. Dur is Duhr. I'll pull up that champion. She's actually an epic champion that I pulled. I don't know if it's a he or she. I always say she, but pulled and is one of my favorite champions so far as healing goes. Now we are going to 278 is what happened with this particular team. So we're going to go in and let's replace War Priest with boom, with my guy. Let's see how he does. So 287, I believe, is where we were before. I want to see if this makes any kind of difference as far as the team goes. Remember that he does have those shielding properties, a really strong healer as well, but his attacks are based on the amount of HP that he has. So, and right now he provides quite a bit of protection, but I don't know how long we'll actually be able to protect him. And so right now I don't necessarily have him equipped the way I would like, but I don't think his impact is going to be as great at the moment. And that's going to be the big one. When you guys are playing through Clan Boss, what are you thinking about your team so far? I would love to see that one in the comments. Who do you currently have on your Clan Boss team? Do you run the same Clan Boss team or do you kind of switch it up as you acquire more champions? I would love to hear, kind of where you guys are and what you're thinking. If you have made it this far in and have not subscribed, hey, go ahead and hit that button for me. Make sure you leave a comment because the engagement and just getting a different way to look at things is always helpful for me. So we are just starting, but it's nice to go through or go back through a game for the second time, especially when you're starting from scratch. The differences between what's offered and what's not when you're looking at champions, just login champions in general. I also think the system for like acquiring void shards, for example, will definitely change over time as well. So it'll be kind of exciting to see what happens there. All right, so this team didn't do quite as much damage. She only did 8,000 on its own. Our Elhain is still coming in at 83,000, but you look here, Deliana is only at 74,000. I have seen battles where Deliana is actually doing over 1 million in damage. So I promise you this gets better. I will also say she's a champion that develops really well as you ascend her and as you start to apply more and more books to her as well. So made to 535K. Wow, I haven't been that low in actually quite a while. And I'm looking at the difference between the team that's in first place and, of course, for us. So just kind of paying attention to who they have in place, which is a good one. These two champions are different. I will say this is a guy that you will pull quite a bit from campaign, quite a bit from campaign. And this is another champion. I have to go look up her name, but I would love there's a group, there's a little class of them that I can think of off top and index that would actually be really interesting to acquire. Right now, we don't have necessarily a lack of champions, but probably we just need to get a handle on who are we going to upgrade so that we can keep our champions moving in the right direction. I know that I would love to run a multi-battle. What I'll probably do is hit my 3-star group and go ahead and elevate them is what I'm thinking, because we've obviously started on the majority of them, but these guys are going to eventually power them. And then we need to decide, are we going to 6-star Elhain first, or are we going to 6-star Deliana? I have 6-star Deliana in my personal account, and I love her. I can run levels of campaign solo that I was not able to run before. I'm really interested, honestly, to see what a 6-star Elhain will look like. So I don't know. We've got to make decisions there too, but we need to do some ascending. Um, we're also going to decide whether, champions like Griner or Riding Mage are going to win out in the end, which is kind of what I'm thinking right now as well. This is one of those champions, of course. It just depends on the team. And right now, Riding Mage works well with my team structure. So I'm going to take this time to run a little campaign, probably work through a few arena battles as well, since we have those available. And of course, we have plenty of refills going on there. You guys let me know where you are, how the game is treating you, and are you excited about the new champions that are coming our way? Again, I am Wicked Raider 22. I thank you for sticking around this long, and I will see you soon.